cultivating the capacity to embrace life as an adventure, to find a sense of joy, to find a sense of happiness, pleasure, awe, wonder, fun in the moment. And this idea that for me, life is a pretty big adventure every day, every moment. I never quite know what's going on. And so as I was preparing this talk, I had a stack of books by my bedside that was about this tall. And I read everything I could find from master teachers about adventure, about play, about having fun, and it all sounded really good. Even what our own author that we're working with this month, Judy Cameron, in her book, The Prosperous Heart, that it just sounded wonderful. And then I'm going, yeah, but knowing about adventure, reading about the fun of play is way different than actually experiencing it. And some of what I was reading didn't fit for me. And so I created a talk last night based on all that lofty information from those spiritual teachers, and I went to bed ruminating and clenching my jaw, and I woke up this morning going, I can't give that talk because I can't talk about anything from this platform that I can't live myself. So my suggestion that you go on a trip up Mount Everest or go live in an ashram for a month or whatever doesn't work for me. I can't do that. It's not my version of adventure or play. And so I kind of got up in a panic this morning because I realized that I have to kind of do a talk off the cuff because I can't use my notes very much today. So what I want to tell you is what I believe this whole idea of adventure and life is all about. That's what I'd like to share. So I do believe what Julia Cameron says. She says that the prosperous heart, this idea that we can actually see clearly the beauty, the awe, the wonder, the possibilities, the potential, the radiance in our life experience, to see it and to value it is where we get this idea of this rich, full capacity to live our life. That's what the prosperous heart is all about. To be able to see it clearly, to appreciate it, and to live it. That's what it's about. And she says one of the greatest gifts of having a prosperous heart is the capacity to allow ourselves to see life as an adventure, to experience adventure, to see life as playful, and to experience the play of life, to say yes to the idea of doing something in our life experience just for fun. I love that I was having a conversation this morning with someone about our party and the idea of why not? It's fun. I can do that. Why not? That's fun. That stretches my boundaries. Well, I want to tell you that this invitation to embrace adventure in our lives, whatever it looks like for us, and I want to tell you my adventure, my idea of adventure does not look like the idea of adventure that guy who jumped out of that whatever and broke the sound barrier as he was free falling. That's not my idea of adventure. That's not it. Linda went whitewater rafting this summer and that was on her bucket list. Guess what? Not my idea of adventure. Not my idea of adventure at all. So this is the invitation. We get to choose what adventure looks like for us. For some of us, we are stimulated, we are fed, we are filled up with travel, with new perfect. This is your kind of adventure. For some of us, like me, my version of adventure is a little bit different. For me, adventure looks different than that. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because we don't all have this deep desire to adventure in the way some of the master teachers would suggest. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So this is what Julia Cameron says. She says, embracing adventure in our lives, whatever it looks like, whether it's a big adventure or a little adventure, is a way to inspire enthusiasm, keep ourselves fresh, and experience a lightness of heart. So if for you the adventure is going out every morning to enjoy how big the pomegranate is getting on your new pomegranate bush, that's your adventure. If your work, wherever you work, is the kind of thing that you do that brings you this energy, this fresh insight, this inspiration, this lightness of heart, if whatever that is, if the moment that you have a child in your classroom, like Jan Bates does, that it has a monumental success and you're part of that, and you can experience that as the adventure that that child's experiencing and share that, that's what we're talking about. Whatever your life offers you to inspire you, to allow you to have a lighter way of being in the world, to allow you to have a fresh perspective. For me, adventure is about getting a new perspective, whether it's from the mountaintop in Mount Everest or from the whatever, however high that dude was that jumped out of that airplane to break the sound barrier. Whatever it is, it's to get a new perspective on whatever your life is all about. And sometimes we need to take a journey. Linda and I took a journey to Europe this summer to get a new perspective. And you know what? It was a wonderful thing. Did it go exactly the way we planned? No, it didn't. But we were able to say yes to the adventure, to the experience in the moment when it was a rainy time in England, and go for the flying leap and get a new perspective and go to Italy and do a whole different thing than we even imagined we'd be doing, and embrace that adventure with a sense of lightness, not a sense of dread, not a sense of, oh, our time in England is ruined, but with this fresh perspective, this new way, and get inspired along the way. See beautiful new things, right? See new perspectives, see new eyes, see new faces, see new ways of being in the world. It's this. Because Julia Cameron tells us that the prosperous heart, this part of us that learns how to appreciate and thrive in life, is dependent on our capacity to see life as an adventure. She says new sights, new sounds, new perspectives, new ways of being in the world, getting out of the rut, getting out of the stuck places, getting out of the familiar, whether it's a day-to-day, you know, doing something, going to a new part of town, having a new adventure like going to the art fair in Tustin and passing out flyers for a comment, whatever it looks like for you, whatever that new thing looks like for you, or simply a shift in perspective. That can be an adventure all by itself. That helps us feel abundant. That helps us feel full. That helps us feel prosperous. To be willing to experiment with new things, new ways of thinking, new ways of being, new spices in the recipe, new activities, new ways of being in relationships with people, whatever that looks like. It's this willingness to try something new that is the adventure. And when we do that, what happens is it fires up our creativity. It fires up that part of us that embraces new solutions, new ideas, like we did when we came back from our trip to Europe. We came back with a ton of new ideas. Many of them are in process at this very moment. They're in place. Those of you who have been in our community for a while know we're dynamic, we're moving. Common ground is one big giant adventure. One big giant adventure. You never know. You never know. It changes just like that. And the willingness to embrace that and to step into that makes a difference between whether or not this community thrives and we thrive together as a community. So it's really important. You know, we go along for the ride and then the adventure just shows up. Remember when I was a little kid, one of the things we did on Sundays, we all piled in the car and we took a Sunday drive. Anybody else do that? This was in the 50s, right? We got in the car, we did a Sunday drive. And sometimes we'd go out into the country and we'd, you know, we were city kids kind of, and we'd see cows, and it was kind of neat. And we'd go to the dairy and have a Oregon blackberry ice cream cone. Remember when the ice cream cones had the pointy little things, and then the ice cream would drip and it would drip out the bottom and get you close? Yeah, remember? But this was the thing. This was an adventure in those days. Seeing something new, because in those days we didn't have, you know, all the television, all the digital stuff. We couldn't push a button and see the children in Africa or go on a safari, you know, digitally, go on a virtual safari. We couldn't do those things. So this adventure, just go along for the ride and see what happens. See what shows up. Some of my fondest memories. Now, I wasn't too keen about the rides in the mountains because I get car sick. But the rides around town were okay. That worked for me. So this idea that our adventure, our capacity to experience a playful way of being in life is spur of the moment. It's right where we are. It's very now-centered. It isn't you can make plans for the trip, right? You can make the plans, but when you get there, you're not sure what's going to happen. You can make plans for the event, but when you get there, you're not quite sure how it's going to show up. An example, we thought we were having a guest musician today. We had our plans all around that, and guess what? We were wrong. I was wrong. I looked at the calendar incorrectly, and so guess what? We had the adventure of giving Robert an adventure and saying, guess what, Robert? You're on. And responding in the moment. It's, you have plans, but then the adventure and the fun comes from how do you experience that moment? How do you flow with it? How do you go with it? And guess what? This I did learn from one of those master teachers. We actually need adventure. We need play. We need that because it helps us rewire our brains. Neurologically, it's what Deepak Chopra, it's what he teaches. That we have to get out of this familiar rut that we're always following, this old habitual way of being, even if it's not detrimental, even if it's just ho-hum. We need to create new grooves. Do you know that the animals that play the most have the biggest brains? They actually have bigger brains than animals who don't play, who don't romp and have adventures. I think that's interesting because one of those master teachers says that when we have adventures and we're willing to play in our life experience, when we're really willing to like sort of enthusiastically embrace whatever is going on, this is the exuberant expression of our very being. So when Glenda twists my arm really hard and I have to wear a Wicked Witch of the West costume to the Wizard of Oz to our 8th anniversary party, which I don't usually wear costumes, she said, would you please wear a wig? I said, that's going too far. I'm not wearing a wig. But what I can tell you is that when I'm willing to embrace that, it doesn't matter. It helps me bring forth this incredible sense of being fully alive in that experience. The willingness to embrace that, you see. The more we play, the bigger our brains grow. The more we have new adventures, the bigger our brains grow. The more we're creating pathways that allow us to be fully in life in a radiant, awesome, wondrous way. And it helps us be flexible. So this is what I know about my life. If I weren't able to embrace life with a sense of flexibility, I would be dead in the water. Because my life never shows up the same way 2 times in a row. I think it's true for all of us, right? We have to learn to be flexible. And when we can embrace the adventure of life with a sense of flexibility, it allows us to play within that. It helps us respond to circumstances, whatever they are, not see them as huge problems, but opportunities. You know, in the metaphysical world, we don't get stuck on those words like problems, right? Don't we change them to opportunities or challenges for growth? Yes? It's that. It's not a problem. It's a place to find a solution. So Glenda and I have been working with a team of wonderful people in the Green Lady Boutique getting ready, and the other day I went in there and Glenda was struggling. She was trying to dress a mannequin. Only thing is, mannequins fall apart. Their arms come off, their legs come apart at the waist, their heads come off, their hands come off. And so I hear this little, help! And I go over and there's Glenda standing there with this mannequin in a black jumpsuit. And the mannequin's waist was off the top and she was all funny. Her arms were here and I'm trying to help and I grabbed the arm and it came off. And the hand fell off and the head was whopper-jawed, you know. And we started laughing so hard. It was such a time for play. At our age, we almost needed Depends. We were laughing so hard that it was, we created an opportunity to enjoy the moment, to embrace it in a playful way, not to yell and scream and be mad at the mannequin for falling apart and, you know, mad at the whoever sold it to us for not telling us how to work with the darn thing. You know, it was playful and it was fun. And when we got all done and she was standing erect finally, we were relieved. But you know what? It's that kind of way to be with our life situation. I can't tell you how many of my own personal life situations are like that mannequin. You're grabbing to do something and the arm falls off, right? then the waist falls off from the torque. Yeah, it just, life's like that. And when we can embrace it in a playful way, okay, well, so here we go. You know, we're gonna have a new way to be with this. There's a sense of being able to restore us to sanity, so to speak, to bring us back to a place of well-being when we can be with these things in a way that allows us to relish them rather than resent them or push them away. We have been real quiet with our bail business lately. We've got some challenges with our advertising in our company, so we haven't had a lot of bails, but we did have a bail this week. And it was at night, and it was complex, and we had to go to Norwalk, and then we had to come back home, and then we had to go back to downtown Los Angeles to Twin Towers, and it was, you know, 2, 3, then it got to be 4 and 5. And so while we were at Twin Towers posting this bail, before we got there, there were all of these sirens, and all of this activity, and the helicopter with one of those searchlights, and we knew that we were going to have to park in a parking lot and walk a couple blocks to get into the building that we needed to get into, and we're like going, oh boy, well, it was our work, right? This is our work, and we had to embrace it. And so we just started playing with it, and so we became Lucy and Ethel, and we were, wow, you know, and it was an adventure for us. It became an adventure, and we were aware and doing this the whole time, because that's a scary place, walking around in Los Angeles at the Twin Towers place, the men's central jail place. But we were having fun. So we get in the building, and we start walking up the stairs, and all of the inmates and homeless people that they had released that night were sitting on the stairs, and we had to, like, excuse me, walk around all these people as we go up the stairs. And again, this idea of experiencing this whole thing as an adventure and being playful with it. Glenda, in her beautiful, innocent way, we walk into the place where we have to post the bail. She takes one look around and she goes, we're still being Lucy and Ethel, and she goes, wow, this place is a mess. What happened? She says, this place has really gone downhill. We're talking about cement. We're talking about, you know, a difficult place. And while we're there, the sirens don't quit. The helicopter's still looking for whoever. And we hear a loudspeaker outside, right outside the window, where we're saying, come out with your hands over your head. And we're just looking at each other going, what an adventure this is. So, you know, we could have been afraid, which I have to be honest, there was a little bit of that, but we knew this is it. This is the moment. We're going to have an adventure here. We're going to get through this. We're going to do our best. We're going to do our work. We're going to make it back to the car alive. And it's going to, you know, we're not going to make this a big deal. And that's exactly what we did. That's what I'm talking about. You make life an adventure. Sometimes life is pretty yucky. Sometimes life is dreary. Sometimes life is gloomy. Sometimes things don't go very well. But when we can embrace it in a way that makes it a big, giant adventure, it makes it way, way different. You know, children know how to be with adventure and play. When children play, you know, I think part of our problem around this whole thing, this whole idea, is we don't give ourselves permission to have fun, to play, to have the adventures, because we're so stuck in the Eurocentric, Puritan, Protestant work ethic. That ethic that says we've got to work hard, we've got to be frugal, right? And I did a little research on this, and I didn't realize this because this was never my understanding, but the idea that, and then we get salvation. You see, this is a Christian perspective. This is a Christian perspective. Work hard, do your good deeds, be frugal, and then you get to, you know, go to heaven or whatever. I thought that was interesting, and I think that there's a real subtlety around that with all of us. We've been raised with that work hard thing, see? But we also have to, of course we've got to do the work, put in the footsteps, but we also have to embrace the idea that we can play, we can have fun. Children know how to play. They're not stuck with that. Children, they don't consider play or embracing fun stuff, having adventures, even if it's just, you know, paddling around in a mud puddle. They don't consider that wasting time. They don't consider embracing an experience like we did at Twin Towers as stupid or silly. They consider it as an opportunity to get a new perspective, to grow through the experience. They don't know that, but they never live life in a secondhand way. They never live life in a secondhand way. When we're willing to have the adventure, when we're willing to play and fully embrace whatever's going on, it's a first-hand experience. It's not a second-hand experience. So, for me, I think the invitation here is don't hold back and don't hold on to old stuff. Give yourself permission to go for it. Set that aside, whatever those old ideas are about not having fun, not being able to play, not having the permission to have whatever the adventure looks like for you, not being willing to embrace life in a rich, fun, full way. Let that go. Zip line through life, whatever that looks like for you. Get away from those ideas of doubting yourself and holding yourself to some sort of stuck, rigid, I'm too busy, I'm too serious, I'm too something, sort of that idea. Let yourself go and experience this. Because if we don't play, we miss the spontaneous moment. If we're not willing to experience the adventure that life offers us right now, we miss it. We miss it. So here's your invitation. Pay attention to what you do with today, how you embrace this experience today, because our author tells us, and this is from Julia Cameron, act as if today is the most important day of your life. Make today an adventure. Play with today, whatever it brings you. Give yourself permission to play. Give yourself permission to change some ways of being in your life if they're not bringing you into a fullness and a richness. Say yes to the idea of doing something just for fun. And back to the opening song. Learn how to dance. That's why I picked this picture of this foot with a happy face. I used to do this with my grandchildren when they were little. This idea that wherever we go, we take our happy feet with us, don't we? So make sure that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, take that idea, that awareness with you, this idea, this capacity to experience life as a big adventure filled with a playful energy. See it all that way. And of course, sometimes we just have to move through the grief. I'm not saying we're not going to experience stuff, but we do come to a place where we can be playful with life, and that is the invitation. Learn to dance when the coals are hot.